Hello, everyone whomever is watching live or recorded. Welcome. This is Joseph with the Healing Market, and today I have the pleasure of having Laurel Lyons from Sedona, Arizona, with us live. Hi, Laurel.
Hello, Joseph. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well.
Good.
Laurel is an intuitive healer and has a very interesting life story. And today we're going to focus on connecting with my guides. So I'm going to ask Laurel to give us a short introduction, how she met her guides and what they are, and we'll take it from there.
All right. I would say my guides and I didn't need introduction or need to meet each other um, without going too far into where we could go another time or maybe later. My guides began as imaginary friends when I was a little child. And as I've grown through the years and kept the opening to communication and source, I've realized that that's they were with me all along.
You mentioned to me earlier that it started with imaginary friends.
Hmm. I wouldn't know, or I don't have the concept of how I guess they were like every other child that has imaginary friends. I feel as if they're people that we knew in past lives or expressions of ourself before we came into the who we are in this lifetime. Friends, angels, who knows? For me, I know that I've been confident, I've been comforted, I've been guided my entire life. As early as 4 years of age, actually, as early as I was still in the crib, I remember having guidance with crib slats around my little body. And they were telling me, there was something telling me that there was a bat in the room with me and watch out for my mother because she would come in to want to get the bat out of the room that I was in.
How we hear a lot about the idea or concept or reality of guides and angels. Um, let's start with what are these things?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Hmm.
That is a great question. What are they? The words I want to share right now, seeking the definition or the answer to that, is they are beings placed in with us, perhaps prior to, of course, perhaps prior to conception, that guide us, that link us into a higher realm, a higher state of safety, comfort, security, companionship. And sadly, in Western society, we're raised to not have imaginary friends, to not speak with the shadow in the room, to not look like or appear to be out there in a way. And so many of us shut down the communication or the opportunity with imaginary friends, aka guides.
Thank you. I guess my question is like, what are there in terms of like, are there humans, are there alive, are there spirits, are there like, if somebody asks you what are these things that you communicate with, I can't see them, right?
They're living energy, they're living essence, whether or not they're, in a flesh or a a coat to walk into the room. They can come in many different appearances when they do. Physical beings, I would not say that they are, like I said, that tangible, come pinch me kind of physicality. The it, it I'm going to how boundaries are placed on us, how rules are placed on us to limit the word that's coming up, to limit magic, to limit miracles, to limit possibilities, to limit ourselves. When we limit ourselves as children based on what authority is said to us, it often makes it easier for the ones that are tired and weary and working and providing. But I was very stubborn and I was very blessed in a way that I was able to kind of carry on the way I wanted to, known and seen as the so called black sheep, or a friend of mine calls me a rainbow sheep. Um, there's so much that has to do with the way Western society and or some societies deem whether or not the knowing of these sources, this essence, these beings, entity is seen as being a negative thing sometimes. Entities, it depends. I could call all my guides an entity, an essence, a source relationship. Um, ah, you're asking good questions tonight, my dear, my friend.
Thank you. Okay, so we're dealing with entities. I I imagine there's a lot more willingness and openness to be able to accept these kind of things. Much more there was yesterday and the day before that, and that's why we're here. So perhaps you could tell me a bit about how do you connect with your guides and what kind of interactions you experience.
It's a sunrise to sunrise connection. It does not stop for me. When I was more in 3D mainstream, it was exhausting to have so much going on in, let's say, a upper level or a non 3D, non mainstream level. And then to know, I called it always living with a masculine and a feminine essence balance in myself. There was the 3D world. There was then again the angel realm or the mystic realm or the magic, spiritual, enlightened realm.
Hmm.
So I say often that I disguised well. I tried to disguise well for the comfort of others and not bring my guides to work and not bring, all the Wonderland fairy tale stuff as it was called or known as. I had to do that to earn the living, take care of my children, and
Right,
pay
but
rent
tell me
kind
more
of thing.
about how do you connect with your guides and what your experience where you connect with them is.
It's going to be a little different for me than people who are new at this development or developing this newness for them. I've always been in it. For others to gain a comfort in a development in it, I recommend that if it's really something that someone seeks, and I feel we all should because it's available for all of us, take the CDs out of your car. Stop blasting Led Zeppelin full volume in your car when you go to work or come home. Make a choice, set a time each day. Sit down for 20 minutes at 1 o'clock every afternoon and just say out loud, hey, guides, hey, those of you who want to help me along the path, I'm right here, I'm right now, I'm open to meet with you. It's a lot like when we first meet someone that we want to be friends with. You don't just open up right away and spew everything and say, how do you feel about me?
Right.
The same thing kind of goes along with making friends or gathering a form of relationship with your guides. Take the time with it. You want to feel good and comfortable. You want that new friend that you're making to feel good and comfortable. You want to know what you can know in the timeline and come back together with a better communication, a better relationship, and build it. Let clients and students know if they're not used to getting the communication with their guides and all of a sudden they just say, I want them all, I want them right now, most people are going to be radically overwhelmed. Guides are very friendly and very kind. They're not going to want to overwhelm you. But for those who want that massive stimulus, that immediate gratification of a relationship with, spirit guides, angels, don't ask for it all at once. You don't want 19 friends all at once. You want one good relationship.
Right.
Same goes with guides. Ask your primary guide to come to you. They know you so well. They've been with you who knows how long, soul eternity. Ask the primary guide to come in. And when the primary guide and the one receiving the information gets it, then the primary guide will say to the other guides, hey, she's ready for you. He's available. Let's help. It's not about a force, it's about a source.
Right. That's good. Thank you. How does one know when they speak to their guide versus they speak to their own imagination or projection? Like, how do I know it's the real deal and not, I'm just in another layer of my imagination making it up?
I give more credit to the imagination. The imagination can and will make a creation. They won't make a facade. The vivid imagination will not make a facade when we check in at gut level, gut instinct. In the very beginning, when you do request the presence of a guide, when you do sense a presence of a guide, check in. Find out where you're feeling it, what it feels like. Is it in my gut instincts, my chest belly? Is my heart pounding faster? Is it coming in from the base of my skull, third eye? Are my feet tingling? There are going to be different feelings for different people, but really allow, when you're calling a guide in, really allow yourself to be more like a receptive audience. You're not going to heckle the crowd. You're not going to, say, oh, neener, neener, I see you. You're being seen. Allow yourself to be seen, be calm, and a little bit of stillness goes a long ways. But really check into where you're feeling it, what it, not thinking it, feeling it. You'll get that same association with the same feeling repeatedly. We can think ourselves into and out of anything. When we put the feeling to it, it becomes the pure thought. So give yourself the opportunity to feel
Right.
what is coming in when you're looking for your guides or wanting to, share, build a confident relationship with them.
That's a good one, to feel it versus to think it.
Yeah. We can think ourselves into or out of anything.
Right.
When we feel it, we get the true thought.
Right.
So, I can think right now that I want to get off the screen with you and go to the local store. But when I give it more thought or more feeling, I don't want to go out at night. And when I give it thought, I don't need a single thing outside of my home right now. So, but
Okay.
I could think I need to, if I was uncomfortable, I could think I need to skip off of this recording.
I see. Okay. So I've been reading all these psychic books. It's a pretty good one.
What else have you got?
It's not here, but similar. And the cool thing about these books is they tell you that some people can hear and they do like two cones, and some people see stuff, and some people know stuff, and some people got information in a dream. Um, how would one know in what way this information may show up?
By giving themselves the opportunity to pay more real attention to themselves, not being distracted, not being, going for immediate gratification or what someone else has told them has been their experience in it. Allow each experience to have the individual nature of what each individual is experiencing. For me, it's all of the above. I've tried to turn it off at times, living in 3D or mainstream. It
Mm.
never shut off. So to trust that it's always on, it's always available. We generalize that you've got to be someone really special, or you've got to be a monk, or you've got to be some magical, mystical, wild woo woo with riding a unicorn through the clouds in the sky. No, you can be the everyday, every person that you are. It's just getting into a comfort zone and you're not crazy. Really, it's so important to know that you're not crazy to be psychic. You're not crazy to have imaginary friends, aka guides.
Right.
You're not crazy. It's said for hundreds, thousands of years, every person on earth has their individual angels to guide them. Why rip yourself off and say, I'm not one of those people? Say, I am one of those people. I'm glad you've got the books and you're researching and gaining your confidence in being who I already sense that you are, my dear friend.
Thank you. Okay, that's good. There's the two words which are interchangeable: psychic and intuitive.
Hmm.
I'm not looking at the entertainment value, but the real meaningful value. Um, Besides turning the radio down and sitting in silence, what other practices, or maybe you could offer a specific practice to do to increase one's psychic intuitive ability?
Something very simple is take a small notebook with you each day and a pen with you each day and see, sense, feel what you've seen, sensed, or felt before.
Right.
The That goes into the three categories that you mentioned: psychic, intuitive, dream. Um, Dreams are very important. If you don't have your dream realm opened up, boy, contact me because I can talk about dreaming. I can talk about talking about dreaming for an hour.
Mhm.
Dreaming is radically important, very significant in opening the channel because of what happens with the chemistry in the brain. Chemistry changes when we're upright, chemistry goes uninhibited when we're laying down.
Right.
The other thing about going back to the notebook, this just came up earlier today. These little things called deja vus.
Mhm.
People are like, ooh, how spooky. I had a thing called, I think it's called deja vu.
Right.
That is you knowing that you've already been where you are. And how does that happen? It happens through your own prophetic ability, your intuition, your ability to see the future. Sometimes it can be a guide going, hey, pay attention. We're here. Let's get lucid and go over there. Don't go on the shortcut on your walk. Don't go on that highway today.
Right.
When they come in that clear, I'm going to do more than, offer up. I'm going to suggest when you've got those kinds of messages coming in, you're going to feel it in the gut, in trust belly. Go with it. I'll do very quickly a personal example. I had Early one morning, I was getting ready for work, and I heard a voice say, "Do not take the harbor route. Do not cross the bridge." And I thought, man, I'm running late for work. I need to take that short route. I need to cross the bridge. When I got up to the opportunity to go the other direction, I made the decision I'm just going to follow. It's okay if I'm a few minutes late. I would have been almost 2 hours late had I taken the Harbor Road because there was an accident, really bad accident, on the two-lane bridge. So I listened to that. I took that in. I studied everything that I felt, what I heard, where I heard it. I heard it way out on the sides of me that day. And what I interpret now is that it was a big message.
Right.
I'll go to something that's coming through. Those who, there's this thing that comes up that we have, I think it's called tinnitus. Tinnitus is that ringing in the ears.
Mm.
They're surgical. They offer surgery to have that sound removed from your hearing. I count on that sound all the time because I know for me, it is a higher frequency communication coming through that I haven't learned how to translate yet. How am I going to translate that tone or that high pitch? How am I going to translate it if I don't know it? I've learned to listen with the ear in my HEART, soul chamber, right there with gut instinct. But when you get those big messages, do not take the harbor route. Be late for work, be late for the grocery store, call your daycare center where your child is and say, I'm going to run late. I got to work hour and 45 minutes earlier than I would have had I taken the normal route.
Right.
So when you get those, that's your guidance saying, don't go. Don't go or do go.
That's good.
Get used to, pay attention now. You're all getting turned on to each one of you that listens, each one of you, Yosef, you, me. Our guides are around us as we're hearing and as we're listening and responding to this. And our guides are saying, oh, Joseph wants time with me. Laurel acknowledged
Right.
us. So know that as you're listening to this, your guides are listening as well. And they're responding to your desire to connect with them.
What if I want my privacy? I don't know about you guys.
Oh, I have done that many times where I have said, I need to be left alone for 3 or 4 days. Leave me alone. I don't want dreams. I don't want messages. I don't want interference. I don't want information.
And it works
Please.
for you?
What's that?
It works for you? Does it
Yeah.
work for you?
Oh, yeah.
It does.
I I'll put in, I'm stubborn. I'm in being stubborn, I've learned how to be defiant for my own good. And when I let my guides know, or my dream realm, I call them my producers or my guides in my dreams, when I've had too much, I've had too much. I'm down here in a flesh earth suit. We've got to be at the height of self care to be able to do the more that many of us want to do. So, yes, if you don't want it, say you don't want it, but give it a timeline, because if you say, I don't want it, and you forget to say, oh, I do want it, you are the authority of your own individual process and reality.
Well, it's good to know that I can turn it on and off.
Yes, yes. And it's not, we're not being rebellious or defiant or even saying, oh, I only want it a certain way. It's just being reverent to your own nature and your own needs.
Right. I mean, I guess it does take a leap of faith for someone to go, okay, there's some creatures around me that apparently want to talk to me and hang out and give me some good life advice. How do I access
Creatures.
these creatures?
We're all creatures.
We're all creatures. I had a couple of ideas about that. The one that I wrote is the deja vu, the experience of deja vu, and maybe for the audience, I'll say deja vu is where you think you've seen that again. This just happened. Like you have this idea of just it happened before, and you're reliving that moment. It's kind of like the idea of the black cat in the Matrix from the Matrix movie. You see the black cat, or there's a deja vu. I saw a cat, then I saw the cat again. Then you know there's a glitch in the Matrix, and that other entity is about to come in.
My black cat is named Glitch in the
There you go.
Matrix. Um,
But I'll just tell you this: that the other one, being able to turn on or off the entity, you know how it seemed like every software now has a little sidebar and you can chat at the same time with the machine. No, it's not that good. I mean, I think that the beings give a lot better responses, but it's kind of like you have like a sidekick. You can ask questions. It's
yes,
useful.
yes.
Seen people
When
chatting like about crypto and world thing and your personal anything really.
when I stopped calling my guides my imaginary friends, I called them my sidekick. That was
Right.
something that was, very trendy, very popular in the 70s, 80s, was to have a sidekick. And I used to call him my sidekick. And one of my guides said, "We don't really like that." And I said, "Oh, what do you want to be called?" And they said, "By our names." I was like, I don't
That's
have
it.
the slightest idea what one of my guides' names is. In that moment, I took it as a responsibility, and I slowed down and I took the time and the interest to get names for the ones that were very prominent in my life. I'll share this briefly. I felt kind of ripped off that initially, when I really became aware of what I call my first two obvious guides, nothing against either of these categories. One was an absolute Asian monk, and the other one was a First Nation male. And I'm like, oh man, everybody has either an Asian monk or a First Nation male. I want something different. And both guides said, you have a lot of something different. We're keeping this comfortable for you right now. My Asian monk guide I had forgotten all about until a couple of months ago. And he was hanging out in like his little ethereal being body. I saw him hang out in my house one day and I was like, whoa, hey, hi, wow, you're still around? And he said the same thing to me. He said, oh, hey, wow, you're still around. It's one of those moments. The feeling of where the feeling comes from, I'm recognizing as well that I feel it a lot through my shoulders, back in my trapezius area. I feel it a lot when my guides come through. I feel it through visual cortex, down the spine, across the shoulders, and really sincerely at heart and gut level, gut instincts, trust belly.
Thank you for sharing this. What about a negative experience that you interact with like some demonic thing or evil entity? Is that possible?
Of
Has that
course.
happened? What would
Yeah.
that be? Like a very bad, ill-wishing entity.
Well, I want everyone to know immediately, if you find yourself uncomfortable at any time, You have the full permission. It is about your comfort. It is about your development. It is about your growth. You have the full permission to say, no, you're banished, not now. And that's our greater way of respecting ourselves, respecting the values of how open we're willing to be, how courageous we're going to be, but also how strong we are and how strong we will be and how much stronger we will get. There is a thing that I've noticed through all of my years and through working with clients, students, friends. There is a lot that can go on with chemistry, and a lot of times, I perhaps I can't directly articulate this in the moment or give the information to it in the moment, but it has to do with rise and fall of hormones,
Hormones.
puberty, midlife crisis, things like that, menopause, perimenopause. There are, I've studied it enough to know that through those timelines and through the chemistry that adjusts the way that the brain works. If our hormones are peaking and we're edgy, we've got a lot of adrenaline going on or a lot of cortisol buildup, it changes the influence factor of
Right. Right.
responding accordingly.
Yeah, I see it. So you may, and maybe if you're in a certain mood, you'll attract a certain frequency entity.
Yes. In those moments, give yourself permission to say, is this really me? Is this really mine? Do I really need this?
Right.
Don't freak out and sell the house. you know, they'll follow you. Don't freak out and sell your house.
Okay. Well, while we're on the topic, what about psychic attack? Is that a real thing?
It can be energy attack, psychic attack, things like that. It
Curse?
can be. Pardon me?
A curse?
Yes. We wouldn't have known about them or heard about them, or they wouldn't have been an information basis for as long as they have been if they weren't really real. It again goes to what's going on inside the body, exhaustion levels, hormone levels, chemistry levels, stress
Right.
levels,
Yeah.
whether or not we're open to it. Um, they're there, but sit down in that gentle format again and give yourself your own knowing of what you want and how you want to receive it. It's the same as taking the 2 or 3 or 4 days off. You've got as much authority in your personal development to say, hey, I need 3 or 4 days off, don't come to me in my dreams, as you do to say, energy attack? My energy was really low, but I'm not going to go lower with an attack by someone. And as you pay more attention, you're going to recognize who it is that's kind of got it out for you.
Right.
They're the insecure ones. They're the weak ones. They're the ones that, brush aside. Let them know you've got a for sale sign for their house. Evict them. It takes practice,
Yeah.
but do you want more good or do you want more not good?
And you don't have to engage in it. Like you can engage with whatever or summon whatever you want or not.
No.
Yeah.
In my teaching of dream work, I leave myself, I teach students there is no such thing as a bad dream.
Right.
There's no such thing as a nightmare. These things are teaching you, showing you, reminding you of things that you've left behind somewhere or that is coming to you from somewhere that you want to be aware of. You want to recognize what it's built on or what it's made of. And you want that awareness to, get out of the crumbling building or, get the demon off of your chest or make the person that doesn't really like how sweet your energy is, be aware of them and say, go away.
Very
We
good.
have that. We need to take that authority for ourselves. Veils. People talk a lot about what's on one side of a veil or on the other side of the veil. You are on your own side of the veil, period. What travels through, it's you letting it in. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's you letting it in.
yeah.
And it takes a while and it takes feeling and engagement with your highest self and you. We're all at our higher self. It's a coin phrase, your lower self. Um, you will find as well those who go far in it or those who, go ahead and receive the blessings of the greater knowing of themselves. It's not uncommon to come to the place where you recognize you've been your own guide your entire life.
You know, let's take a note here. It's a fine line between taking care of yourself and being branded as a sociopath of sorts. But it's true because in the Western culture, the Judeo-Christian Catholic culture, you're not supposed to take care of yourself too much, or have for yourself too much, or enjoy anything too much. And that creates a cycle of guilt and shame,
Mm,
which the ego uses, right? And in order to, once you release that, then you can maybe access other realms or decide what comes in and what not. Because many times someone will guilt and shame themselves for whatever, maybe something happened 30 years back, and because of that will absorb a lot of abuse from others, or assume on themselves, anything like that. Whether to understand that being good with yourself is your duty,
yeah.
is your
Self
order.
self care really should be the first.
Emotional, yeah, emotional, spiritual, not just physical self-care.
The physical is possibly most important because the physical body is the only thing that is in 3D dimension. The you know, physical. It's the one thing that's not going to go with you after you die. So the self-care of the physical body is significant because the physical body carries the emotional, mental, spiritual, and it's also it's like the travel vessel for the ultimate soul. Self-care, the physical body, seeing to it that we're aligned with our highest self that way, is a great way. I spoke earlier of hormones. If we know our hormones are raging, do something about it. Don't let the hormones rage. Don't become the bully of your own household, uh, whether you're the only one living in it or not. Um, the more we get into a present state with ourselves, the easier it is for guidance to come in and be direct and honest with us because they know they can be direct and honest with us because we are direct and honest with ourselves.
Right.
The society that we're in right now with this guilt and shame thing, we're taught, many of us are taught guilt and shame without even knowing what guilt and shame is.
Absolutely.
And that's, we get good and ripped off early in life and live in that guilt and shame persona until we don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm going to take you back to, we mentioned dreams earlier. And
Mm,
before that, I asked, how do I know it's real and not a projection of my mind, right? About the guide. So now let's apply that to the dream. How do I know? Remember, our friend Ethan mentioned there, some dreams are sorting what happened in your brain the last 24 hours. Kind of just, the computer goes through and sorts everything and puts it in the archive. But the other part is receiving. When
mhm.
do I know when is wet? I mean, maybe last night I had a dream of whatever, people jumping and screaming and shouting. Does that mean a message from, the spirit universe, or is it just like I had to like sort something out?
I say that it's both and all. Because if we don't associate or we don't allow the all, we're going to go ahead and do what's been done to us or for us our entire lives, and we're going to limit ourselves. To know that it's a dream, the dream, yes, is ours. The dream, yes, is taking place in our mind. The dream, yes, is vivid imagination. The dream, yes, is so many things. I won't make this a dream workshop. But I've I'm blessed to be a sweet, vivid, lucid dreamer day one. I was dreaming in the womb and knew it. So, and I'm not the only one. I'm not special or different, or I'm not all that weird. And I am special and I am different and I am all that weird. We all are. And in our so-called prophetic nature of the dream, anyone who's watching this, look up hypnopompic and hypnagogic as far as your dreaming. Hypnopompic is how we sort of, while we're going to sleep, we get the messages and the memory, and we sort of process and put into the filing cabinet our day that we're going to sleep after. The hypnagogic is, you know, like when I wake up and I know I'm going into hypnagogic phase, I will ask, please guide me, please inform me of what may come into my day when I'm upright, what may come into my day that I'll want to know more about or be able to be more present with before I get there. When we allow ourselves the greater expansion of what we can imagine ourselves to be, we're going to get there. Humans, perhaps all species, humans in day-to-day 3D work in 12 to 18% of their mind. There is 80% of what I call the superhuman mind that, we're just sitting around being lazy and complacent and, ho hum, let me get the, remote and change channels so I can be entertained over there on a big screen.
Mm.
Entertain yourself. Get to the place, expand to the place, grow to the place, trust yourself, spike up your vivid imagination, and start getting into that superhuman mind. That's where dreams take place. That's the switch out in the brain chemistries. We're inhibited when we're upright, we're uninhibited when we lay down. And if you want to meet a guide, if you want familiarity, call in that guide 4 nights in a row and let them come into your dream realm. Something that's really important about dreaming is to say in acknowledgement with authority, I will have sweet, vivid, lucid dreams that I do recall.
Right.
We're all dreaming. The recall is whether or not we choose to or how quickly we shake our brain out of that chemistry. That same association is in the wide awake. I ask people all the time, why stop dreaming just because your alarm went off?
Right.
As I said, I'll talk for an hour about talking for an hour about dreams. So,
That was very good. I think that's a great point to thank you and to leave something for next time.
thank you.
Thank you, Laurel.
Blessings to all of the viewers and the listeners, and just go out there and be more courageous about being your sacred self, your true self, your nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.